Do you realize that anybody who knows how to use VO3 properly can now do the work of some of the highest paid advertising agencies in the world? This is for real. A guy named PJ Ace created an ad that ran during the NBA Finals using nothing but VO3. He immediately had Mr. Beast and nearly every brand in the world knocking on his door. With VO3's AI video generation, you can now create ads that companies are used to paying $500,000 for. When I was running my marketing agency, I worked alongside many different video production companies, and I've been blown away at how VO3 can match or even exceed the work I saw being created by those teams. There's a huge demand for this skill set, and today I want to walk you through how to do this in the simplest way possible. I've spent countless hours and hundreds of dollars to come up with this process, and I truly believe you can make a lot of money using it. But like anything, there's a few tricks you need to know to get this to work. So here are the 5 steps we're going to be going through today. First, we're going to be breaking down our reference video. We're going to be using that PJ Ace video, breaking that all the way down and figuring out what prompts we might want to use to recreate a similar video. So that gets us straight into our VO3 prompts. I learned a lot about this, spent a lot of money. Then we're going to get into the script. So some repeatable things that I think you can use to recreate these types of ads. Then we're going to do a quick editing tutorial with Descript and getting into even selling this service. So how you can go out, find your first client, find your first project, and start scaling from there. So here is that video. PJ Ace has this right here on his YouTube channel, and it's a 30-second clip here, which you can check out. What I went and did is I grabbed a screen capture of this using Screen Studio. This is the software that I use to record my videos. I get asked quite a bit actually what I use to create my videos. I use this Screen Studio. This is a great one. I also use Ecamm Live to record the footage, and then I edit it all in Descript, which I'll give you a quick run through here in a second. So I went ahead and grabbed this 30-second clip using Screen Studio, and then I pulled it right into Google AI Studio. So a lot of people don't realize you can analyze videos right here inside of Google AI Studio. They need to be short, so this was a 30-second clip. It had no problem with that. Longer videos, unfortunately, don't work. But what I wanted to do is use AI Studio to take this video, analyze it, and return the ideal VO3 prompts that would recreate this famous and very successful video that PJ Ace created. So jumping into the cheat sheet, I make a cheat sheet like this for every single video that I create. These are all instantly available to anybody who supports me on Patreon. There is a link in the description, so go ahead and check that out. There is a ton in this cheat sheet. I went crazy on it, and I'm getting to the prompt that I want to show you here. So deconstructing an example video in AI Studio. You can start with a simple prompt like this. Just please review this video for each scene and return a prompt that I can use inside of VO3. But what I found to work a lot better is using this long script, or this long prompt rather, that has all these example VO3 prompts, because VO3 is such a new tool. It doesn't have in its training data, it doesn't really know what a good VO3 prompt is. So here are a bunch of these. These are pretty nice to just read through and understand. We don't have time to get into all of those. Again, that's in the cheat sheet. But I used this and dropped it right into Google AI Studio with that prompt, and it returned some really cool stuff here. So it gave me all these different prompts that would create each of these scenes. Now, they're not perfect, but they're a great starting place. I massaged these a little bit, and I have them all in the cheat sheet as well. You can take a screen grab of those first couple to give you an idea. And also, while I had this in the memory of Google AI Studio, I went ahead and asked it to really analyze this video and figure out why it was successful. And it came up with a lot of cool stuff here about the power of juxtaposition, show, don't tell, high velocity for low attention span folks. I've got all that here in the cheat sheet. One cool thing here as well is this 30-second template. This is a big picture look at the different scenes of that particular commercial. All right, now we've broken down that reference material and we're moving into these VO3 prompts. And remember, you can use that process to break down really any type of commercial, but be mindful that PJ Ace really kind of understands VO3 and what it's good at and and what it's not good at. So there are certain limitations in this VO3 tool that aren't very obvious, but he was really able to exploit what it was good at and avoid the things that it wasn't good at. So just a quick note as you're experimenting. The absolute killer prompt that I came up with after a lot of expensive experimentation is this one, which is basically just the camera motion, then the setting. You want to make sure and tell it no music, because if it gives music underneath the dialogue, it's really hard to edit that out, and you want to be able to add your own music that gives some unity to all of the clips, and you don't want that to be fighting with the music that VO3 creates. So that was an expensive 2 words to learn about right there. Then you want to give the character and the dialogue. So I'm not going to read this to you, but this is what I came up with, and this really worked well. You want to pay special attention to how this dialogue is formatted. This is where most of the failures happen, is in that dialogue. Sometimes the character is not saying the dialogue. There's all sorts of weird ways that the dialogue can get screwed up. This prompt works more often than the others. Nothing is perfect in this world of AI. One thing I stumbled on, I wanted a talking horse in my video. I couldn't get that to work. It was just doing voiceover and showing a horse. So don't waste, $30 or $40 trying to do that like I did. Talking horse is not worth it, trust me. Another thing with the dialogue, you want to focus on 15 to 19 words. If you use too few, it's going to try to stretch those out. Like if you only use 4 words, it's going to try to stretch those out for the 8 seconds that these clips are. Every VO3 clip is 8 seconds long. And if you only give it, a short, just a few words, it's going to try to fill up that whole 8 seconds with those words, which is not going to work well. If you give it too much, it's going to get cut off and get weird. So I figured out that this is the sweet spot, this 15 to 19 words. This is usually 2 short sentences, 2 short sentiments I have here. I created this to help me count the words. So here's all the dialogue that I was working on and the word count here. So if something was too short, I would add to it, and I came up with a pretty cool thing where it's basically 2 sentences here. So if that sentence for whatever didn't work really well, you had this second sentence here. So you're getting kind of 2 tries at getting something to work with one response. But that right there is the prompt that did a lot of the heavy lifting for me. And the way that I like to access VO3 is through Fowl.ai. I'm not sponsored by Fowl AI or any of the software that I'm talking about on any of these videos. I've made the decision to keep this channel completely supported by our Patreon subscribers. So again, if you're getting something out of these videos, check out that Patreon. Fowl.ai is a great way to access VO3. When you purchase VO3 through Google, you have to sign up for a pretty expensive monthly subscription if you want to do anything besides like a couple quick videos. And if you're going to try to make money using this service, you're going to need to be able to make a lot of different clips here with VO3. And so that expensive $200-$300 level, I'm not sure what it is anymore inside of Google, you're still going to get cut off there. And I've found that it's a lot easier to use Fowl.ai, where you're just paying per use. You're not paying a subscription, so that when you have projects, you can go in there and create a bunch of different clips. When you don't have projects, you're not paying for it. Once you log into Fowl AI, it's going to look something like this. You're going to need to do a little search for VO3. You're going to get these options. This is VO3 Fast, which costs, $2, $3 per clip that you create. VO3 more, I would say $5, $6 or more. This is the higher resolution version. It is better, so it's kind of a toss-up. You can practice with this, but you're not getting the full force of this full version. So kind of hard to say there. If you're working on client material, definitely you'd want to try to lean this way, but you may want to practice here. Just experiment between the two of them. And then you also have this VO3 image to video, so starting with an image, not just a prompt. We're not going to get into that today, but it's a super powerful, very cool feature. And then there's the fast version of that image to video as well. So once you click into this VO3, whether you're picking the fast or the regular, you're going to have this place to put a prompt. It's going to show you this example. And here's where you just grab and copy and paste these prompts. And I would spend a good amount of time double checking that this is all spelled correctly and there's no grammar errors, because that's going to throw it off and you're just going to waste a few bucks by any errors in here. So With other AI systems, I'm pretty cavalier with how I'm, formatting my spelling and punctuation. But this is one point you need to stop and take a look and make sure it's right before you dump it in there and waste your money. I burned a lot of money on errors. Just take it from me. Learn from my mistakes. So you just drop that in right here, copy and paste, run it, and it's going to return something like this. So this ended up being one of my takes that I ended up really liking. And again, that format worked really well. I'm going to show you my entire commercial here at the end that I created. So you'll get to hear what this guy's saying in a second. All right, so those were some of my hard-earned lessons about creating VO3 prompts. Now I want to get into this script creation. The tool that I really got a lot of miles out of is DeepSeek, which I'm sure you know is the Chinese model. You can use it for free, but for whatever reason, it is hilarious. It has a much better sense of humor than our normal AI systems that we like to use, the Geminis and ChatGPTs of the world. I don't know why this is. Maybe it's lower guardrails or something like that, but it can crank out some really funny stuff. So here's a repeatable process that I think you can use. The example today is promoting an online fitness course, specifically a fitness course that would help with back pain. So I started with this prompt: just generate some standard, trite, cliche dialogue for a back pain commercial. I found that LLMs in general are really not that funny, but if you take, kind of this trite, cliche version of things and just twist it a little bit, you can get some funny results. So I'm copying and pasting that right here into DeepSeek, and it's come up with this cliche version of a back pain commercial. And it's kind of just funny as it is. These cliche versions are kind of what memes are built off of. And then in a new chat string, I asked it to generate a list of colorful meme-like characters and settings, examples being cowboys, monster truck drivers, old people dress funny, clowns. Dropping that into DeepSeek, and it's pulled together some funny stuff. A man that's way too passionate about grilling. That hits close to home. I'm afraid these people might be watching me. Medieval reenactors. Man, these are all hitting close to home. So then what you want to do is manually match these characters with the dialogue. And you've got to do this manually. I've tried it. I've tried to use LLMs to do it, and they just don't work very well at this process. It's much easier to just grab pieces of that dialogue that stand out to you and some of those characters, and then just twist a couple of the words, ideally to fit that character or bring some extra insanity to your commercial. Then you want to fit all that into this killer prompt format, following this as closely as possible. The one skill that I want to get better at is the camera motion. In PJ Ace's version, he uses a lot of different camera movements to add a lot of variety and excitement to his version. So I've used Google AI Studio to deconstruct all of the different camera movements that he uses in that video, and that's the skill that I'm excited to get better at so that I can have a little more variety in this camera motion portion of my killer VO3 prompt. All right, so once you've matched the dialogue to those goofy characters, twisted that dialogue a little bit, made sure that the dialogue is just 15 to 19 words, you should have a good batch of prompts to start testing. And this isn't the only type of commercial that VO3 can create, but just like I said earlier, PJ Ace really was able to exploit the things that VO3 is good at, and I think this leans into that a little bit. But at the end of the video, you're going to need a strong call to action, and this is the prompt that I used for that. Basically is, just no nonsense, telling people what to do next, whether that's click a link, sign up for an email, buy something, etc. Here's what my call to action shot looked like. And the way you get these out of a file is you just download them here. And this pulls us directly into the editing section. So I love Descript. You can use other tools. CapCut is another one that is inexpensive. If you're new to this, I wouldn't worry about Final Cut or Adobe Premiere. They're just too much, too steep of a learning curve for a lot of things that you don't need. If you already know those tools, by all means, go ahead and use those. But for all my videos, I use Descript, and it's not perfect, but it is a great tool, a great Swiss Army knife. It's kind of like the Canva of video creation, so you can do pretty much everything in there, and it's fairly easy. If you're looking to really be a filmmaker, then you might need some of those fancier tools, but for the rest of us, Descript is plenty. When you log into Descript, you're gonna see something like this. You're gonna create new project, new video project, and then over here is where you're gonna load up your files. Press this plus sign, upload from your computer, and here is one, that clip I was just showing you. Here's another one, these wrestlers. So once you've got them in there, you just drag them right in here. It's going to transcribe them. Then I'm going to do a little backslash here. That creates a new scene. We'll drag in our second clip here. You can see it transcribing. Then you can do a lot of your editing down here just by dragging these little files around. You can use this blade tool to cut and delete stuff. You can move clips around by doing this. Most importantly is this stock footage down here. So there's a lot of cool stock footage if you wanted to add some B-roll, or some of these Giphy stickers are pretty cool. There's a lot in there you can use. Audio, you've got sound effects that you can use, and music as well. However, even though that music is royalty free and you have the right to use it, YouTube, for whatever reason, is flagging some of that stuff and kicking your videos out, which is a huge pain in the neck. So what I've been doing is just grabbing this pre-approved music from YouTube's music library. You can use anything in here. This is all available to use on YouTube, and you're not going to run into that copyright issue that sometimes pops up, which is an error on YouTube's side. Technically, you should be able to use any of this music, but for whatever reason, YouTube has been flagging it. Okay, so once you've got that all copied and pasted and put together the way you want it, you can export it right here. Up in the export, you click this little button, this download button, and it's going to download it right onto your desktop. It'll usually default to this max resolution. Another cool thing in Fowl.ai is that you can upscale. If you have a low quality video, you can use some of these really cool upscalers. There's this Topaz upscaler right here that is a pretty expensive piece of software, but you can just pay per use right here. There's a lot of cool different AI models inside of Fowl. So this is a really cool resource. All right, we've now gone through creating the script, creating the clips, editing them all together, and exporting them. So you should have a pretty sweet video. Let me show you what I've come up with.
Do 100 backflips daily to keep your spine flexible.
Keep your spinal joints moving through their full range of motion.
Channel amethyst energy directly into your L4 vertebrae.
Floppy shoes can strengthen glutes that may be weak from sitting. Lasso those endorphins, partner.
Disco music improves the communication between your brain and muscles.
Try herniated turtle rolls to increase bone density, strengthen connective tissues, and maintain healthy disc height.
Just want to get rid of back pain? Click the link below.
I hope you got a kick out of that, and those wrestlers really gave you some inspiration to get out there and sell this service, because that is the next step here, is getting out there, getting your first client. And this is what I spent many, many years doing. So I have a lot of expertise in this area, and what I've found to work better than anything is going to conferences. So what I want you to do is use this prompt inside of Perplexity to research what conferences are coming to your area, dropping that into Perplexity, pulling together all the different conferences that are near you. So the idea is you're going to go to these conferences, and at these conferences, there's going to be an expo hall. You can often get into that for free without paying for the entire conference. And guess what? Since you're selling a marketing service, every single booth there is going to have marketing staff from companies that have budget. You know they have budget because they paid to be there, and oftentimes their marketing director, the number one person who makes the decisions, is right there. So you can use this prompt inside of Manus to research and compile all that marketing director information of all the people that are going to be exhibiting at whatever conference you're going to. Here's what this looks like. I've got this running now. This is so cool. I spent so many hours doing this manually, but now Manus can just go through and research all of these folks and create this huge document that has the contact information, the names, etc., the LinkedIn profile pages of these people, so that you know you can just walk into that exhibitor hall, walk up to each booth and say, hey, is so-and-so marketing director here. You know their name. You can ask for them by name. You can tell them, hey, I do this AI video creation. I'd love to show you my work, set up a meeting. And from there, it just becomes a natural sales process. And these folks are looking for your skill set. Trust me. I've got a ton more in the cheat sheet getting into why this Kalishi ad works so well, so you can dive deeper into that, getting into these other formats, these setup and subversion formats. Originally, this video was going to be all about that, but this is just now a portion of the cheat sheet. This is a massive cheat sheet, well over 20 pages long. And not only that, there's an entire second guide that accompanies this video to anybody who supports me on Patreon, all about getting your first client at these conferences. So this is a massive guide, all about what you say to these folks, how you can prove that you know what you're talking about, your initial pitch rehearsal. Super powerful stuff. Like I said, I built a marketing agency of 15 people primarily using this technique. So check that out. That is in the Patreon. And for your next step, I want you to learn how to create consistent characters in these videos. VO3 doesn't naturally create consistent characters. I got a video all about that right here. I'll see you over there next.
Make your dreams come true.